Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. My name is Julian, and this is an important injury updates video ahead of the regular season. This is so you know exactly who's injured, who's not, and who's going to be ready for the start of the season. If you haven't drafted yet, this is a really handy tool so that you don't draft any guys who are injured too early. And if you have drafted, still a handy tool because you're going to be able to know a little bit of what's going on in the NHL and who you should be picking up, maybe adding to an IR spot if you have one open. Now, full transparency, this still is not my normal studio. The reason I'm not recording there is because I don't record in my own apartment, my studio, because my apartment's way too small and there just really isn't a spot for recording. I did it a couple years ago. It didn't work out very well, so I'm recording elsewhere, and the person's place that I'm recording at is sick, so that's why I'm not recording there right now. Everyone seems to be sick right now, but hopefully by the time I release my next video on Thursday, if all goes well, it'll be back in my studio. So fingers crossed, because that would be great if I can start recording again in my home studio. Now guys, before we jump into the content of this video, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. More than half of you guys that watch the channel are still not subscribed. I'm trying to hit 6,000 subscribers this year, so if you do hit that subscribe button, it would mean a lot to me, because we are making our way there, and that'd be such an awesome threshold to hit. Thanks so much, guys, and let's jump right into it now. And let's start with the very first injury on the list, and that is John Gibson. And it seems like John Gibson is going to be good to go after leaving Friday's preseason game. Seems like it's nothing too serious. Now with John Gibson, he gets injured fairly frequently, so you do get worried sometimes, but this one doesn't seem to be anything too serious at all, so don't worry too much if you're a John Gibson owner or if you were planning on drafting him. Now Alex Killorn, on the other hand, is out 4 to 6 weeks, so he's going to be back in the beginning of November or mid-November. So don't expect him to play for you at least the first couple weeks of the season. And honestly, Killorn I don't see being that valuable this year anyway, but I mean, if you do have the IR room and you did draft him, you might as well stick him on there, right? Like, I'm sure your IR is not full just yet, but I don't think Killorn on the Ducks is going to be overly valuable, and he's not someone I'm overly high on this year, but that is his injury report. Jack Quinn is not close to returning either. He's dealing with an Achilles injury. I believe he had surgery. Do not draft him, guys. He's not going to be ready until around Christmas time, December or January. So definitely not someone I want on my team right now unless I have an absurd amount of IR spots, which most leagues don't have. Then Jacob Pelletier of the Calgary Flames, someone I was excited to watch this year. Thought he might be, a really good rookie this year if he got the right deployment. But he left the game during a split squad match, and he's going to require surgery, so it looks like he's probably going to be out at least a few months with that shoulder injury, and that's really unfortunate for Jacob Pelletier, so don't draft him either. Andrei Svechnikov is the next guy with a torn ACL. He was out for a while last year, but he is expecting to be ready for game 1 of the season, so that's great news for all of you guys that drafted Andrei Svechnikov. Then we got Pavel Francouz, who underwent a adductor procedure in his first round playoff series last year, and he's still recovering from it. It looks like game 1 for him is in doubt. In my opinion, I think he's not going to play game 1. He's someone who does seem to be injured quite a bit, so he might miss, a couple of weeks to start the year, maybe more. We'll have to keep our eye on that. But for now, I'm definitely not expecting Francouz to be ready. Either way, he's just a backup goalie anyway. Georgiev gets almost every single start other than back-to-back, so you shouldn't be drafting Francouz anyway. And then just to recap, guys, if you don't already know that, Gabriel Landeskog, dealing with a knee injury, is out for the season. So if you, for some reason, have him on your team, get rid of him. I mean, if he's a keeper, maybe he'll be good for next year, but this is his second year in a row that he's missing, so that's definitely not the most encouraging thing. They are hoping he's going to be back for the playoffs this year, so we'll have to see, but it doesn't look like he's going to play this season, guys, so I wouldn't keep him on your roster. That's a huge waste of an IR spot. Then we got Cale Makar, who's suffering from a lower body injury that's kind of, lingered all offseason, which is not great. But in the most recent practice, he was practicing in a regular jersey, so that's definitely good news for all of you guys that want to draft Cale Makar, because he's the best defenseman in the league, guys, and he's the best fantasy defenseman. So you should be good to go for Cale Makar for his status for game 1. Then we have Daniil Tarasov dealing with a knee injury. He's the backup goalie for Columbus right now. He's labeled as day-to-day officially, but the fact that they claim Spencer Martin off waivers makes me believe that Columbus doesn't believe that he's going to be ready for game 1 or for probably the first week or two of the season, right? Like, they don't have a timetable right now for his injury, so they're probably going to take it day by day and make sure that he recovers properly before inserting him back in the lineup. And Roope Hintz, dealing with a UBI, he missed practice. They're not worried. They're just taking it really, really easy with him. They want to be really careful to make sure that he's healthy for the regular season, which he will be. Then we got Mattias Ekholm dealing with a hip flexor injury. He missed the start of training camp, but he should get a couple of regular season games, at least one regular season game in before the start of the season, so he should be good to go. Then Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad both dealing with surgery to show their shoulders, and contrary to what I believed before about Montour, the progression has not gone as good as he had hoped, so he's not going to be ready for the start of the year. Same with Ekblad, and they're both going to be ready sometime between November and January. General Manager Florida also added that Montour is closer to a return than Ekblad, so maybe Ekblad's probably going to be closer to 2024. I'm not super high on drafting Ekblad this year, that's for sure. And Montour is probably going too high for the fact that he's going to be missing a decent amount of time. So both those guys I'd be wary about drafting. Then Mike Matheson of the Montreal Canadiens, he's day-to-day with a lower body injury. He's not playing, but according to Martin's thing, he would have played if it was a regular season game. So it seems like they're just being cautious with him. And I'm expecting him to play game 1 of the season. The next one is Kyle Palmieri, and this one's kind of speculation because I haven't seen a whole lot of updates on this, but he seems like he's gonna miss the start of the season, in my opinion, but it doesn't seem like the injury is all that serious, so I don't think he's gonna miss that much time, even if he does miss the first game of the year. So I'm not too worried about Kyle Palmieri, although you shouldn't be drafting Palmieri unless you're in like the absolute deepest league ever. Then Filip Chytil of the New York Rangers, he's day-to-day with an upper body injury, but nobody's too worried about it. It looks like he's going to be good to go for the first game of the year as well. Brady Tkachuk was hit near the eye in the face with a stick, but he's also good to go for a preseason game, so he's going to be good to go for the first regular season game as well. Not worried about that. Then we got Josh Norris, who missed just about all of last season due to a shoulder injury which required surgery. He's hoping to get into a preseason game or two, which is a good thing, because he's probably going to be ready to play game 1, and he's definitely a sleeper pick this year because he was really good a couple of years back. Cam York is back at practice, so he should be good to go. If you were worried about Cam York missing time, I wouldn't be. Jake Guentzel is dealing with an ankle injury. He's skating in a non-contact jersey, which is a good start. He has a chance to play in game 1 of the season, but that doesn't seem too likely to me. I think he's going to miss probably a handful of games. Then return to the lineup, top line, and top power play in Pittsburgh. Logan Couture, lower body injury, is supposedly having good days, but he's still not really skating. But playing opening night seems less and less likely. However, I don't think he's going to be out too long based on how the coach is talking about this injury. Kasperi Kapanen, upper body injury, good to go for the preseason, so should be good to go for the season. Torrey Krug, with a foot injury, he got the injury while training for the season, but he should be ready to go because he was ready to go for preseason action. Same with Justin Faulk, he's ready to go for preseason, so I wouldn't worry about that. Andrei Vasilevskiy is out 8 to 10 weeks, so the earliest he'll be back is the Friday of American Thanksgiving, which is November 24th. That's a good while, so I would not be drafting Vasilevskiy super early like he was going before he got injured in draft. Don't do it, not a good idea. Joseph Woll of the Toronto Maple Leafs has flu-like symptoms, so it's hard to imagine he's going to still be sick come game 1 of the season. Calle Jarnkork, dealing with a neck injury, will play in one of Toronto's last 2 preseason games, so he should be good to go as well. John Klingberg, seems like something tightened up, which is why he left the game. It doesn't sound too serious, but he's still not practicing, but hopefully that's just precautionary, and he should be good to go for game 1. Then Ilya Mikheyev, he's still recovering from ACL surgery from last year. He's not going to play in the preseason, and it seems unlikely that he's going to play in the opener also. It's pretty unclear right now when he's going to be back in the lineup, so I would avoid drafting him. Maybe you can pick him up if you have a lot of IR spots, but even then, he's not the most valuable player in the world anyway, so definitely not a priority add. And finally, Max Pacioretty, dealing with a torn Achilles, is still recovering from the Achilles surgery, if you guys didn't know. Right now, he has no timetable for returning and could still end up missing a month or 2 of the season. If that wasn't a huge red flag, I don't know what is. Pacioretty, even if he does come back, may not stay in the lineup too long because the last time he came back, he played 4 or 5 games, got super injured again, and his career could be over if that happens again. So hopefully for him it doesn't, because I do love Pacioretty, but that's definitely a red flag to be avoiding Pacioretty this season, unless you can maybe get him with the last pick of your draft and you have a lot of IR room, then maybe you can go for it, but that's not something I'm super high on doing this year. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed the content today, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tip.